out of turn 12, crashed in other words. Marquez crashed turn 3, and then after quite a lot of heckling from the Valentino Rossi stand, blew them a kiss, which was pretty remarkable as well, and that sent them into some kind of epileptic. Yeah, they absolutely jumped in the air.
That kiss was blown from the back of the scooter, the Marshall was taking it back to the Favicon. It was a wonderful theatrical moment.
118 Grand Prix for Cal Crutchlow equals Jeremy McWilliams' top-class starts for a British rider. I know that sometimes McWilliams is, well, not always included in the British side of things, but of course he is Northern Irish, which last time I looked was still part of the UK. 2016 here actually was Cal's 100th Grand Prix last year, 2016. That's a great flag, isn't it?
We ain't that far from Bologna here, remember?
We don't live that far away, does he, Dobby, from here?
Dobby's from Falling, which is between Bologna and here.
Indeed. 62 degrees of track temperature then, that's Fahrenheit, of course, as we go on board with the Aprilia. Bigger crowd than I thought there'd be here at the moment. We had 100,000 people here last year.
Allegedly.
Someone told me it was only 66,000 as a capacity.
Yes.
But anyway, we're in Italy, so who knows? The fact of the matter is, though, there are a lot of people here this morning. When we drove in here at 7 o'clock this morning, they were already parking up in fields, driveways, everywhere you possibly could to get in here. That was with the weather forecast predicting this, and we've got exactly what the weather forecast said. Look at the spray. That is so tricky when you're en masse, when you're all together going into Cavone particularly, to tip it into that really, well, there you go, we're down by about 4,000, 5,000 people compared with last year, and bearing in mind that Valentino Rossi obviously isn't starting and the weather was forecast to be what it is, I would say that's a good stat.
Very good crowd. There are the winners for the past 3 years, Valentino, Mark and Danny. Hondas have dominated for 2 years, but go back further, Keith, and it's very much a Yamaha track. It's never been a Ducati track.
Looking there at Jorge Lorenzo in warm-up this morning, at a proper coming together with Loris Baz. He and Baz needed the same piece of track in the out lap, and both had a bit of pushing and shoving together. This is Lynn Jarvis, Managing Director of Yamaha Racing. This is the man that sits on pole, his man. It is Maverick Viñales. Danny Pedrosa was the last MotoGP pole sitter to win from the #1 spot. That was back in 2010. Can Maverick Viñales convert that statistic into something slightly more acceptable for Yamaha, we wonder. Dobby sits in the middle as the series leader. Alongside him, Marc Marquez with an off this morning when he hit a puddle. But behind them, 35 Cal Crutchlow and 99 Lorenzo with Zarco to your left on bike 5. Oh, and a poor start from Maverick, but a great start in the middle of the grid. As flying away goes the Ducati man. Andrea Dovizioso got an absolute flyer. But who's pushing and shoving down into turn 1? Yes, it's a Ducati that finally gets control over it. Marquez being edged out just a little bit.
Viñales pushing through to third. Anybody being a hero?
It is. Which Ducati is out front? It's the 99.
It's
Jorge Lorenzo has come through from the middle of the second row. Jorge Lorenzo leads here on a Ducati. Marc Marquez alongside him. Dobby, who did get a great start from the front row, is only back in third place. But interestingly, he rode throughout qualifying with no wings. He's got them on here. Dobby has got the wings on. That's something we haven't seen all week.
Wow, that's a shocker. There's Crutchlow and Zarco having a bit of a set turn.
Here we go. Down into the braking area. Lorenzo really has looked good in the tricky stuff as well during the course of the weekend. But now, leading this off, Jorge Lorenzo. Would you have bet on it? Carol Abram, the gentleman has crashed out already. Disaster for Carol Abram.
How many races have we seen Lorenzo leads from the start this year? 3 or 4 minimum.
It's been quite down to tyre choice then, though, Jules, I've always felt. But now they've all got soft wets in.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. So we expect it to last. That third gear 80 mile an hour corner caught out Carol Abraham, or maybe he tripped over someone else. We don't know. Out through Cavone, down towards turn 12. Now we go. Braking and slowing them down as we get to 11. Every corner after Cavone gets slower and slower and slower until we get to this bottom gear. Probably getting back down to about 30 mile an hour right-hander. Really bottom end of your gearing. It's almost ticking over by the time you get to bottom gear there.
Now this left-hander that is a real trap.
It's a real trap, but not so tricky in the wet. Purely and simply, tyre temperature is a major issue when you come to using slicks through the first left-hander, because you've done 6 right-handers and that's your first left in wet weather conditions, probably a little bit less so a problem.
Over the line for the first time, the Ducatis, the factory Ducatis, sandwich Marc Marquez.
Marquez all over Lorenzo, looks for the inside line, through the puddles he goes at turn 2. And again, a lot of spray being kicked in the face of the young Spaniard. But it is Lorenzo that's doing the kicking up of the water straight into the face. Dovizioso is doing exactly what I would expect him to do. And he has become the professor of motorcycle racing. He's sitting there. We've got a long way to go. 28 laps, that's 74 miles of this 2.6 mile racetrack.
Jack Miller made up 7 places on the first lap, from 14th to 7th.
I'll tell you what, look at that as well. Lowe's has gone up to 18th place. Sam Lowe's on the Aprilia is up. He's only, what, 6.9 off the front here at the moment. Sam Lowe's, keep an eye on him.
5-place improvement on the first lap.
So we have Ducati, Repsol Honda, and another Ducati. The 2 factory Ducatis sandwich this man down in practice. More by track conditions. He got down a little low, got into a bit of a puddle, and the front end just folded from under him.
Petrucci just brutalised Crutchlow.
There he is, and he's about to brutalise Maverick Vinales now into Cavone. That would be pretty spectacular. Crutchlow with that dodgy digit on his left hand.
A bread knife, a cheese knife accident.
And then he was trying to stab the life out of some Parmesan and got himself. Behind them, keep an eye on Jack Miller, as you've already brought us to attention. There he is on the Mark VDS. And the extra ELF 50th year celebration stickers on the side of that motorcycle as well. Maverick Vinales, this is a bit of a tentative opening session for him, isn't it? Back in 4th place. He's about to get mired by Petrucci for sure.
And we know what Petrucci can do in the wet.
He's got slightly less wingage on here. If you can see, he's got the half wing on the Pramac Ducati. Blasts around the outside of Maverick Vinales, but Vinales keeps it on the brakes. And all the time, these 4 just staying static. Oh, no, not this time. Oh, look at that. That was Petrucci saying, I've had enough. You're in my way. I want the time to catch the factory Ducatis. Not that he's on the 2017 factory Ducati as well, really. But
really, exactly. Running in the colours of the satellite team, to be pedantic about it. Marquez did the fastest lap that time round, but 20,000.
Oh, he nearly didn't. Marquez then, sideways on. That's a nice slap in the face of a warning for young Mark. So Mark getting a little bit of a warning from the rear end of the Honda. I was about to say, George, just before he did that, how many times did we used to see Jorge Lorenzo, once he got away and got into a rhythm, no one could get near him. Let's take another look at this. Wow. Yep. No one. So, Dad Julia was saying, think maybe, but you can be sure this young man is thinking, and he saves so many near crashes. It's slightly scary, but he's probably dropped off the back of Lorenzo after that.
Right, what's Petrucci doing?
He's away. He's away from this bunch. Maverick Vinales now under pressure from 35, Cal Crutchlow. I thought Crutchlow was going to have a look at Cavone then, turn 11, which we're at now. Oh, that's only 140 mile an hour.
Scary stuff at Misano. Petrucci is taking lumps out of Dovizioso's lead on him.
Jack Miller as well, still hovering in behind his best mate.
That's
on
the worry.
Track, Cal Crutchlow.
Thinking back to Silverstone a few years ago.
Good point. Here is, though, Jorge Lorenzo. Definitely in his rhythm. These tyres are going to stay with him as well, Julian. This could be... We've been talking about Jorge Lorenzo throughout the week. Every race meeting, he's got closer to the front. By that, I mean time-wise.
48.7 that time round. 49.9 for Marquez with the moment. Ooh. But 49.4 for Dovi.
Jack was going for the inside of Cal Crutchlow at turn 1. It's been the nemesis of many a ride at turn 1 during the course of warm-up this morning.
Danny Pedrosa has dropped right down to 16th place.
Danny, after that fall this morning, not looking happy out there. Race conditions are not much worse than the warm-up conditions, but they are worse.
Vinales looks like he's actually holding those Hondas up.
Yeah, as he did when Petrucci was behind him, and then Petrucci got impatient and forced his way around the outside in the end.
Got a little medieval on him.
Still it is, Maverick Vinales holding on to 5th place at the minute, but for not much longer, that is for certain. Vinales under pressure as Jack Miller now gets under Cal Crutchlow, but can't quite make the block pass on Cal.
Meanwhile, Lorenzo,
look at this.
Lorenzo is doing what you were talking about a moment ago.
That is the man that's down at the bottom end of the track, 4, 5, 6.
Wow. Do you know what, Keith?
through Tremonto onto the back straight now.
I'd almost pay money to hear the locals boo Lorenzo off the rostrum.
Oh, he would.
And watch what Lorenzo's attitude would be.
There's always been a kiss for the Valentino Rossi fans round here from Marc Marquez after he fell this morning. I wonder what the reaction would be to a Jorge Lorenzo win. He's got the full wing on that Ducati,
as we've become used to seeing him with.
Whereas the Pramac bike has got the half wing.
You know what
number 9. Take a look at that and you'll see what I'm talking about.
You know what you're saying about Dobby?
So's Dobby got the half wing. Sorry, Jules.
What you're saying about Dobby, Keith, biding his time, working the plan, not being towed into any errors.
And you know he would.
Yeah.
Difference between carbon brakes and steel brakes. You heard Hodgie talking about it. The reason why Hodgie likes them is because you've got more feel with them as well. They've got more initial bite in these. You need lots of heat in a carbon brake for it to work.
No,
there is Jack up the inside of Cal, but Cal's got the advantage into the next left-hander. So Jack getting a little frustrated. Saw Petrucci right around the outside when Maverick Vinales was in his way last time.
Petrucci, by the way, the fastest man on track.
Yeah, he's right there. He's right up behind Dobby now.
The man
there they are.
Only slightly slower was Lorenzo.
Lorenzo's away at the front.
He's pulling away. 2 seconds, that is.
Second place man is still Marquez, but under a lot of pressure.
That's 2.5 seconds.
These two. Here's Petrucci now alongside Dovizioso. The series leader is Dovizioso, remember. Dobby stays on the brakes, but it's going to be Petrucci up the inside. This would be a disaster of a Ducati man took out another one.
Petrucci said he would help Dobby. Lorenzo said he would help Dobby, but only in the last 2 races.
Let's wait and see what happens first of all. Danilo Petrucci is after Marc Marquez. The way he will help Dobby is to keep Marc honest, you would guess.
I would go with that completely, because Jorge Lorenzo, who absolutely said this, don't talk to me about helping other riders until the last 2 races.
Well, he wants to win.
Of course he does.
He's paid the big bucks. He's the man that should be winning on Ducati, and now he's getting into the kind of form that he needs to be in. Through turn 11, on to turn 12 we are now. There is Zarco from Baz, who you might expect to go good in the wet.
That's a cracking ride from Loris Baz.
Then you've got Aleix Espargaro on the Aprilia. Pirro is the wild card, remember. If you've not been with us all week, it is. Michele Pirro, he's 11th at the moment. There he is. He's just up the inside of Aleix Espargaro's Aprilia. Aleix takes a casual look over his shoulder into the face of Hector Barbera.
Just what you don't want to see.
Well, Hector Barbera's out of a job, isn't he?
Yeah, basically, yes, he is.
For next year, Redding is 13th, Fulbrook is 14th, Lowe's is 15th in the points.
There was a flap of the foot to the pit from Marc Marquez.
Well,
what does that mean?
I tell you what, Danilo did that round the outside to Maverick Vinales a couple of laps earlier.
Has Marc got a problem?
He has.
It's called Danilo. Look, there was a signal to the pit.
They're getting the other bike ready. Jules,
he's got a bike problem. He's got to swap it. He's going to swap it.
Well, let's wait and see. It doesn't look like he's got much of a bike problem. He's got Danilo in front of him now, so Petrucci has gone through into second place on the number 9. Marc Marquez has gone back. He'll lose such a lot of time. Let's wait and have a look here then. Gear lever, left-hand side.
You see the flap of the foot?
Normally, if you put your foot out, that means you're coming in.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the signal for the foot on the left-hand side. He's now allowed Dobby through. Well, what's he going to change to? Let's be frank, there's nothing he can change to. He must have a motorcycle problem, although it doesn't look that big a problem. He's obviously estimated he's going to lose more time by staying out than coming in. It's a long old pit lane here. It's very, very slow.
Unless he's got a warning light or something.
Well, he's blown one up at Silverstone, a very rare occurrence, remember. But again,
we're speculating, but we can see that Marc Marquez has signalled to his pit, and they are preparing the second bike.
Jack Miller is in front of Crutchlow. Now then, they're having to prep this bike. Now, if he comes down pit lane now, he's in trouble. Don't forget they've got no dashboards that work on the Hondas. By that, I mean you can't text message. The only people who've got text messaging dashboards, and it's something that bemuses race direction. They can't believe, the technical director can't believe that the rest of the teams haven't gone for it. Ducati are the only ones that operate the text message. Cal back in front of Jack, by the way. But Yamaha still haven't got it yet. We thought Yamaha would have it for this weekend. Honda don't have it, so they can only find out every 2.6 miles.
No signal that time from Marc.
He's back in front of Dobby.
Unless it was just...
Steel brakes. There you go. Steel brakes, Julian. Got carbons on it. Everyone else is running steel brakes. So he has got a brake feel problem on the front of that Repsol Honda, and they're prepping the spare bike down pit lane with steel brakes. That's remarkable. I can't believe that has been such a miss.
That's a miscalculation.
Oh, Cal Crutchlow as we finally get to him down in the dirt. Hopefully, yes, he's okay.
That's Lorenzo.
Who took him out?
That's Lorenzo.
Lorenzo stopped that on his own because he was miles out in front. So Jorge Lorenzo down as well. So Lorenzo goes down, Crutchlow goes down almost simultaneously. They were miles apart, so there was no way that they were doing it together. So Petrucci leads this race.
That's the first cheer from the crowd.
Yeah. Don't agree with that.
No, I don't like it. What happened, Keith?
Oh, that was just as he tapped the throttle in by the look of that. So Lorenzo dives off the motorbike. I'd like to see that from a different angle, but it looked like he just tapped the throttle in. Danilo Petrucci leads the Grand Prix of San Marino. And
Marc
Marquez in trouble, apparently.
Well, has he changed his mind?
Well, the thing is, they are prepping his motorbike. I wonder if they're guessing down in pit road what he might want. I wonder. The only way we're going to find that out is somebody can talk to the team, or the chances of them telling us.
Here's another theory, Keith. Prepared. He was going to tell them what to do about the second bike.
And how. And how? They will have had to have pre-prepared whatever he was going to tell them. But how? I can't imagine that.
Right,
really.
fine. OK, I'll retract that. What I'm trying to find...
They had a motorbike prep with carbon brakes on. The number 2 bike, I'm sure, had carbon brakes on as well.
Loris Baz up to 5th. Sam Lowe's up to 14th.
To complete that, his second bike was prepped with carbon brakes on, so the only thing they could think of is maybe we ought to put some steels in it. Maybe that's what he's on about. I don't know, I'm guessing. What do you think at home? At BT Sport MotoGP. This is Cal Crutchlow back on board now, having slid off the bike. It's a replay, actually. There he is sliding off the bike. Oh, it chucked him over the high side as well. Lucio Cecchinello in the foreground here. They've only got a one-bike team until next year when Nakagami joins them. Back at the front now then, Danilo's bike is being prepped. What are they doing with his motorcycle, I wonder, the second bike?
Or is this just the routine preparation of the second bike in case?
They've got to make a call. If this rain has stopped, then maybe there is a possibility that I'll need to change. There is Baz on Jack Miller. Baz has got some performance, hasn't he, in the wet?
That is amazing stuff from the big Frenchman.
Goes through into fifth place. Maybe not for long, though, because Jack's just straight back at him. The Honda looking good grip-wise. Out through the fastest corner on the track, out onto the curb they go. Back down to now 12. Turn 12. Rolling down through the gearbox. Turn 12 is 4th gear, 13 is 3rd gear, then it's the bottom gear, 40 mile an hour, turn 14 right-hander.
Now this is in the Marquez pit. They are hurrying still, but it doesn't. It's a lengthy procedure to change what they are changing.
Well, maybe they had it set up for a dry bike.
Yes.
And that's the question. Maybe it was, we couldn't see it. Obviously had tyre warmers on originally.
Marquez has just done his personal best lap, Keith.
Maybe they'd dry tyres in it, but there's no way that you would come. There's no way this racetrack is going to dry out for dry tyres anyway. I mean, I'm speculating wildly here.
I can only think there was some pre-prepared signal in case of.
Yeah. What? You can't guess. I mean, putting steel brakes on the front is the only thing that was seeable, was distinguishable, was the fact they put steel brakes on the number 2 bike. But the time it will have taken him to come down pit lane would have been too long. He's got to stay out there, and
that's what it looks like now.
Make do with the carbon fibre brakes he's got on there.
And he's only a quarter of a second, third of a second behind the leader.
I can't remember how well I covered the carbon brake versus steel brake scenario, so I'll have another go at it, shall I? The steel brakes got a lot more feel, and you get bite early on, whereas the carbon brakes, once they get hot, you get bite, but you've not got any bite initially. You've got a lot less feel until they get some heat in them, and once they get heat in them, they stop and they don't run out of brake. With a steel brake, you can overperform, and it might run out of brakes on fast, hard braking places. But either way, I think the steel brake is the option here, really. But Mark has traditionally gone with a carbon as often as he can.
So were the Honda team just doing what every other team is doing and preparing the second bike?
But with steel brakes.
Maybe it wasn't in response to that signal. Maybe that was an okay. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Carbon brakes on Vinales.
Who doesn't appear to be enjoying it too much. 6 seconds back of the leader.
Maybe he's got the same problem as Marquez with carbon brakes, if that is indeed a problem.
Marquez did a personal best last time round and does it again. 48.1. He's matching Petrucci.
Right there with Danilo Petrucci. We know how good he is when it comes to wet weather riding. Remember Silverstone, he should have won it. He didn't quite close down Valentino enough, did he? He really kept him honest, though, because he was closing as the race went on at the British Grand Prix a couple of years ago.
Personal best laps coming in all the time. Is this... It stopped raining.
Yeah. Yeah, and
we're shifting water.
Fuel loads coming down.